A private path service allows service providers a way to offer data from a third-party, non-IBM cloud service to their consumers. After a provider sets up their service to privately connect to IBM Cloud, there are a few things that their consumers must do to initiate the connection and access the service. Keep in mind that communication between a provider and consumer stays within the IBM Cloud private network backbone and never traverses the public internet. Before you begin, make sure to read the communication from your provider on how to connect to their service. If you did not receive communication from your service provider, ask for it. You should receive instructions on creating a virtual private endpoint gateway to connect to the service and, most importantly, the required cloud resource name that uniquely identifies the service. To begin, you must create a VPE gateway. To do so, log into the IBM Cloud console. If you don't have an IBM Cloud account already, access cloud.ibm.com/docs/account for instructions on how to set up an IBM Cloud account. In the IBM Cloud console, select the menu icon, then click VPC Infrastructure, then Virtual Private Endpoint Gateways in the Network section. The Virtual Private Endpoint Gateways for VPC page appears. Click Create to go to the provisioning page. In the Details section, enter values for the following fields: name, resource group, optional tags, optional access management tags, and a virtual private cloud. Hover over tooltips to understand resource groups, tags, and access management tags. In the Security Groups section, select the checkboxes of the security groups that you want to attach from the security group table. You can then manage these security groups and tighten their security rules for inbound traffic toward your endpoint gateways. When you create an endpoint gateway without specifying a security group, the VPC default security group is attached to the endpoint gateway. On the next screen, you'll see choices to connect to an IBM Cloud or non-IBM Cloud service. From the Request Connection to a Service section, select Non-IBM Cloud Service. This is a third-party application or service. Enter the CRN of the private path service obtained from your service provider. This is a cloud resource name, a unique identifier that maps to the cloud service that you're trying to access. It is a lengthy number that you can copy from the communication you receive from your service provider. In the Reserved IP section, select a Reserved IP address reserving method and add a name if required. The default button, Select One for Me, will automatically select a reserved IP for you. You can keep the default selections for the subnet and auto-release field. Review the order summary. Note that there is no cost to you to create a VPE gateway. Click Create Virtual Private Endpoint Gateway, and that's it. You're done. The endpoint gateway is requested for use. Your connection request is sent to the service provider for review. If your request is permitted, you'll receive a notification and can then access the service. Note that your access will not be immediate. The time it takes to approve your request depends on the action of the service provider. Return to the VPE for VPC page to track the progress of your request. The status will be pending until the service provider approves your request. If your request is denied, contact the service provider directly rather than IBM support. When your request is approved, you can access the URL that you were given by the service provider to access the service. For more information, explore the private path documentation at cloud.ibm.com/docs/privatepath.